Okay, now I'll show you a little bit more about how we help families, what we do for families. So we believe every family deserves to know their FIN number. Have you ever heard of FIN number or financial independence number? Okay. Well, basically, it's the amount of money that you need to have set aside. Let's say it's for retirement to be able to draw upon and not ever have to worry about going back to work again. It could work for whatever goal you're trying to do, but in this case, retirement. And what we do is we teach you, first of all, we figure out what that FIN number is. How much money do you need for you to reach your goal? Let's say it's retiring at 65 with $100,000 a year income. What amount of money do you need to have at 65? And so we teach you the accumulation phase of where should you put the money, how much return do you need to get, but also the distribution phase, how to be able to take it out with paying the least amount of taxes so your family keeps the most of it. And of course, the last phase of being able to transfer it to your children or to your estate and heirs without having to pay so much to Uncle Sam in taxation. So before we go into that, let me just show you the ways of like the three things that you need to have in place to build wealth. We teach families these three major things. If you want to be wealthy, you need to have these things in place and understand these things. So it's kind of like if you want to be healthy. If you want to be healthy, you need to eat right, get enough exercise, and get enough rest. If you neglect any one of those three things for too long, you're not going to be healthy. Well, same thing with being wealthy. You need to have, the rate of return, high rate of return, risk management, and taxation under control. So let's first talk about rate of return. Have you ever heard of the rule of 72? The rule of 72, also sometimes referred to as the accountant's rule, if you took any accounting classes in college. Albert Einstein figured this formula out. You know who Albert Einstein is, right? The crazy hair guy um, that came up with E equals MC squared. Well, this formula is just as powerful, I think, but you take the rate of return you're earning on your money and divide it into the number 72. The answer you get will be the number of years it will take for your money to double. So the first time I heard this it was kind of over my head. So let me illustrate. Let's say you have a 1% account. Let's say you're 29 years old and grandma gives you 10,000 bucks. Okay. And let's say she says, put this someplace safe. This is for your retirement. You're not allowed to touch it. So you go down to the bank and get a 1% savings account. So now one divided into 72, the answer is 72. So your money will double every 72 years. So this 29-year-old can go back to the bank at 101 years old. He'll have 20 grand. Is that very exciting? Obviously not. You probably can't retire with 20 grand. But let's say you were able to get a higher return. Let's say 10% return. Now, let's say 10 into 72, the money's doubling every 7.2 years. So that same 29-year-old and that same 10,000 bucks, his money will double at 36 years old. He'll have 20 grand at 36 instead of 101. But again, there's another double at 43, 50, 57, 65. And at 72 years old, he'll have 640,000 with 10%. So this is kind of what's happening. When you put your money in the bank, which most Americans do, you have your job, you go past cash your paycheck, maybe put it in a savings account. What happens to your money? Do they put it in the vault in the back and wait for you to pick it up? Or do they invest it? They invest it, right? So is it fair to say that they're getting at least high returns? The bank invests your money by giving people real estate loans and credit cards and those things. So they're doing this with your money. And so we try to tell people this is a story how the rich get richer and the poor stay poor, is because the rich people have a team of people helping them. They have stockbrokers and accountants and financial advisors and attorneys helping them to know how money works, how to get the higher returns, how to protect it, and how to pay the least amount of taxes. So you have to understand, like if you want to be able to really build wealth, you have to outpace inflation. You have to get higher returns. So in this case, if we went to 101 years old, you'd have over $1 million. In this situation, you're probably dead before you get your first double. So this is a much better situation over here, getting the higher returns. So what we try to teach people, two things with this, get your money outpacing inflation, come to people that can, like us, that can help you to learn how to put your, where to put your money. But also if you understand the value of time, look at this, every, 7 years, it's doubling. What if I started earlier and got another double? What if I waited a little bit longer, got another double? So time. So when do you think is the best time to start investing your money? Right away? Yeah. Well, it's kind of like right when you're born, right? So as soon as possible. So you don't want to waste time because it could cost you so much with what's called compound interest. So when Einstein figured out this rule of 72, he called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. And so you want to have your money put it somewhere that it's compounding, that you're getting interest upon interest, and you're getting those high returns, right? And having it sitting for a long enough time to actually accumulate. The next thing is risk. So you're going to tell me, Jamie, I'm getting these high returns, but with high returns comes high what? Risk. Well, there used to only be two places you could put your money: in fixed accounts like the bank, earning low returns and you never accumulate much, or like the stock market. It's up and down and it's scary, right? So now there's things called indexed funds, indexed accounts. These index accounts, you can put your money in, and if the market goes up, you'll make money. But if the market goes down, it has a floor, it has a guarantee. So if the market does, let's say 10%, you get 10%. But if the market does negative 10%, you don't participate in that. It has a floor. Let's call the floor like 0.75% or something. So if the market does negative 20%, you're up positive 0.75. So you can only go forward, never go backwards. All your gains are locked in. Why is this so important? I don't know if you knew anybody who lost money in, like, let's say the 2008 financial crisis or when the stock market crashed. What happens is, let's say they had $100,000. And so let's say the market crashes. Let's say it goes down a negative 50% in that type of crash. Now I have $50,000. Oh my gosh, that's so scary, especially if you were close to retirement age. Well, what a lot of people think is to get back to break even, I have to do positive 50%, but that's incorrect. If you do positive 50% on this lower amount, now I only have 75,000. You see that? So to get back to $100,000, I would actually have to do positive 100%, which is not likely. So it's very important that you not only get the high returns right here, you not only get the high returns, but that you have some guarantees or some risk protection, especially when it's like the most important money, your long-term money, your nest egg, your children's education, your retirement, those things. So higher returns and having some guarantees or risk protection on it, okay? The last piece of this is taxes. So there's three different kind of places you can put your money. There's taxable accounts, tax deferred accounts, and tax exempt accounts. Which one sounds best so far? Of course, the tax-free or tax, advantage, tax exempt accounts, right? These taxable accounts right here, these are things like regular checkings accounts, savings accounts, just regular type of accounts that don't have any tax advantages like stocks and bonds and mutual funds. Okay, so what happens when you put your money in these types of savings vehicles and there's growth, which that's the point of any savings vehicle, is to have growth. What happens is the government comes in and takes a piece out. It's called capital gains tax. So you don't have that compound interest thing up here like we were talking. You wouldn't have that 640,000 accumulate in these taxable accounts. That compound interest doesn't work that way. All right, why are these ones good? The taxable accounts, well, they're good for your checking and your banking and your short-term type of, emergency fund liquid accounts, okay? But for long-term money, you want to have as much tax advantage as possible. So there's tax deferred accounts. So think about what that says. You're deferring taxes till later, till when you take it out. So the most popular ones are things like 401ks or IRAs. These are called qualified plans, okay? Oops. I'm sorry, I'm so messy. These qualified plans, you put the money in, it grows tax deferred. It grows tax deferred, but when you take it out, every penny coming out is taxable. So you don't pay taxes along the way. But if you take it out, it's whatever your tax bracket is. And again, it's later in life. Hopefully, if it's like, let's say, a retirement account, hopefully your kids have moved out and your house is paid off. So you don't, and you're not working anymore. So you don't likely have a lot of write-offs. So you're deferring your taxes to an unknown tax bracket, which can be very scary. It's an unknown tax bracket in the future that you have no control over. We have no idea who will be in office or what they're going to put taxes at. Plus, if you take it out early, there's an extra 10% penalty tax. So whatever your tax bracket is, plus 10% penalty if you take it out prior to 59 and a half. So not a big fan of these, all the time. There are great times where it can lower your overall tax bracket by putting money there. Also, there's great things, maybe 401ks that are matching. So if your employer matches you, let's say they put in $1 for every dollar you put in, hey, that's free money. You want to definitely take that free money. But for your long-term money, you also want to look at some tax exempt accounts. And these accounts, you get paid, you pay your taxes. These are after tax dollars going in. And it grows tax deferred like this one, but in the end, it comes out tax exempt. And these are things like Roth IRAs are very popular. Also IUL and VUL, these types of accounts, they're index universal life that has cash value that's grows tax deferred and can be accessed tax free. There's different vehicles out there. So again, you want to make sure that you have higher returns if you want to build wealth, and that you, I'm going to put this up for you, that you're getting guarantees or, floors on them or some risk management. And then also that you have a lot of your money long-term money going into tax exempt accounts. So let me ask you, if I were to show you a way that you could get high returns, possibly even double-digit returns, with guarantees that you can never lose any of that money that you're saving, and also not have to pay a dime in taxes when you take it out, how many people do you know that would want to know this type of education? Yeah, everybody, right? Okay, so let me just ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Where do you put most of your money? Is it in taxable or tax deferred or tax free? Okay, so most of it's going in taxable and a little bit in tax deferred. Listen, you're not alone. Most Americans are in the same boat. Most Americans start this way and work that way, where the wealthy tend to start over here and work this way. So what I can do for you is kind of take a little bit of information and go over your goals or dreams, and then do some homework and come back with what are the best things for you. Out of everything that we talked about today, what stands out the most to you? What is the most important to you? Debt? Okay. Is it mostly credit card debt? What is it?